So that, that, that. Yeah, my dad. Hmm? It's up to you. Say hi once, then I see it, and I reply back. Maybe you don't. Maybe you can't hear me, but yeah, I see that you are. I see your comments, bro. Just once. What's up? How you doing? I'm not going to reply it again because I feel like it's kind of. I don't know. I don't know. Some people might be joking, want to greet you. Some of them are just like, I don't know. You want to start some shit. So nowadays, I've been amount of times that I get to speak to people. So on YouTube, it's because of that. You never know. You never know how sincere people are. So yeah, limit whatever I am allowed to show. Say, hey, I'll have so many demands of people. It's like, hey, do this, do that. You're on mute. The sound is down. I'm like, yeah. Sometimes I do it on purpose. Called of the conversation. Anyways, I hope you're doing well. Is that a Russian flag? A Russian flag? Ah, shit. That's kind of. Come on, bro. Cause somebody gotta go and get him, bro. Goikres, whatever his name is. Get that Swedish boy because he's scoring 4 goals. That's kind of different. Yeah. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Refused to enter the water after a solo encounter with somewhat. It was somewhat. They're like, yeah, if you want to find out, just click on it. Here before us, 50, well, 50 that leave scientists baffled.
We all love a good mystery, especially one wrapped in giant stones and whispered tales of a lost world. Recent discoveries are shaking the very foundations of what we thought we knew about ancient sites and the people who built them. Picture this, a place so ancient it lay undisturbed for a staggering 11,000 years. Let's check out some amazing discoveries that are changing everything. The place of the giants. Have you ever had one of those days where you feel like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders? You're not alone. Let me introduce you to Sansuna, a giantess from the island of Gozo in Malta. Legend has it Sansuna built the megalithic Gigantia temples of Malta, also known as the place of the giants. She carried the humongous stones on her shoulders while cradling her newborn in one arm. She was so big she could carry boulders the size of trucks. This bizarre legend comes from the simple fact that the Gigantia temples are built from preposterously large stones. People who arrived in Malta after the temples were built were so shocked by their size that they thought giants built them. Let me back things up a bit. If you think
Back it
your
up, back
home
it up.
renovation project is taking too long, imagine building temples in 3600 BC. That's what the prehistoric folks of Malta were up to around the same time the ancient Egyptians had just started with their mummification process. That was almost 6,000 years ago, which is precisely why there is so much confusion around the site today. Even with all of the tools archaeologists have, it's hard to paint a clear picture of anything from that long ago. This place is so old that many mystics speculated that Malta was the last remaining fragment of Atlantis, and that its temples were actually built by the original Atlanteans. But this theory goes that Atlantis did not sink beneath the waves like most legends say. Instead, the Atlanteans began dabbling with forbidden technology and accidentally blew themselves up with their own experiments. Now, that is something we might want to consider as we experiment with nuclear weapons and space lasers. This Atlantis theory claims that Malta's temples were built at least 11,000 years ago, not 6,000 years ago. If true, Malta's ruins would be as old as Göbekli Tepe in nearby Turkey. Whatever the case, now all that's left is Malta's crumbling ruins. Some of these temple stones are up to 20 feet tall and weigh 50 tons each. For reference, that's about the weight of 10 elephants stacked on top of each other. How did primitive humans on such a remote island move these enormous blocks? Magic? A prehistoric CrossFit cult? The answer has been lost to time. Once people arrived later on, everyone was gone, and so the only explanation they could come up with was giants. But in more modern times, scientists have guessed it was likely a mix of ingenuity, rolling stones, and a lot of
Wait. I'll be right back. I gotta charge my phone. Parties to party. I need to be around the parties to party. Let's continue.
Patience, but a lot of people are still leaning towards giants as the ultimate answer to this age-old mystery. There are 23 known megalithic temples in Malta and Gozo, and new remains keep popping up like a never-ending archaeological treasure hunt. 6 of the temples are UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Stones and trying to decipher mysteries, this is the place for you.
Trying to
People
decipher.
who built the megalithic temples in Malta had an understanding of the stars we can only envy. They built Minajra, aligning it with the sun's journey, proving their mastery of astronomy.
Envy.
Their reverence, and perhaps even harness the sun's power to create breathtaking displays of light.
Sun's
The Tarshian
power.
temples, with their intricate carvings hinting at rituals and animal sacrifices. And of course, we have Dimanta, a testament to the strength of the legendary giantess Sansura. These temples, dating back to at least 3000 BC, inspire such grand architecture. Another big mystery is that the temple building culture of Malta vanished around 2500 BC. Around this time, everything just stopped.
Trying to be more annoying.
Whatever happened, Malta was abandoned for centuries. When later civilizations repopulated Malta, they reused the abandoned temples, sometimes as burial grounds. Still holds strong. Gigantia and other temples were built by giants. There are even more shocking secrets hidden in Malta's temples, including one that has global implications. But first, let's take a look at aliens, full Transylvanians, and the aliens confirmed by the U.S. government.
Yeah, right.
Breaking news. Aliens are real.
Yeah, right.
The government knows they're real, and if you're surprised by this, you, my friend, have not been paying attention. According to a new documentary, aliens have been with us for 80 years.
Right.
This documentary premiered earlier in March at the South by Southwest Film Festival.
Right.
This is not some speculative ancient alien history channel stuff. No offense. Director Dan Farah interviewed 34 military, intelligence, and government officials for the film and alleges that the U.S. government is making a concerted effort to hide information on alien activity. While they may not be scientists per se, they are researchers and experts in their fields. The U.S. government has basically admitted that extraterrestrials exist, and they've been dealing with them since at least 1947. An article by The Guardian reports that all of them testify to the presence of alien flying objects and, for some, even extraterrestrial beings on Earth. Some also allege a government cover-up. The film's lead, Luis Elizondo, is a member of the government's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP, and he calls this the most successful disinformation campaign in the history of the U.S. government, representing 80 years of lies and deception. No one wants the truth more than Dan Farah, the director of this new documentary called The Age of Disclosure. He has spent the last 3 or 4 years tracking down people who know what's going on. He's talked to military insiders, government officials, and intelligence officers. All the people who have been sitting on this wild information for decades. His goal was to make the definitive, most credible film on the subject ever, legally revealing everything that can be shared with the public. Legally is doing a lot of heavy lifting here, because a massive chunk of what's been discovered is still classified. That means some of Farah's sources know way more than they can say without, breaking the law, probably ending up in an underground bunker somewhere. But even the information that is available paints a picture straight out of a sci-fi thriller. Another key voice in the Age of Disclosure is Jay Stratton, former head of the UAP task force. Together with Elizondo, they have spent nearly 2 decades trying to pry the truth out of the system, and they've seen some stuff. Elizondo has been through the ringer. He left the Pentagon in 2017 specifically because he was fed up with the secrecy. Since then, he's gone full whistleblower. Elizondo admitted that certain high-ranking officials had considered eliminating him to keep him quiet. According to leaked info and insiders, UFOs have already displayed the ability to turn our nuclear weapons on and off at a whim. When UFOs are spotted near nuclear weapon facilities, all systems seem to go haywire. UFOs also move in ways that make no sense. They've been observed going from a dead stop to disappearing over the horizon instantaneously, with no combustion, no sonic boom, no nothing. They report the US government has recovered technology that defies the laws of physics and found actual non-human beings, multiple species of non-human beings at that. According to the people who have spent decades in intelligence and defense, UFOs also exist in their own physics bubble. Scientists now believe these craft operate in an altered space-time environment, meaning that while they seem to move impossibly fast to us, inside their bubble, it feels completely normal. These UFOs seem to have their own physics that can't be touched or altered. Then there are the poor people who have gotten too close to UFOs. Some people have experienced internal scarring, radiation-like burns, and even death. So maybe don't go chasing that mysterious glowing orb in the sky, just to be safe. Plus, do you really want to run into an advanced super being on your own? If all of this sounds terrifying, it kind of is. But there are also reasons to be hopeful. For one, if these beings wanted to wipe us out, clearly they could have done it a long time ago. But as Farah says, this is a very real situation, and the stakes are incredibly high. And it's clearly the most bipartisan issue of our time. Leaders from both political parties made it clear to me how serious it is. Of course, this documentary has been criticized. While it tries to be the most serious and sourced documentary on the government's handling of UAP information, critics noted that this doc doesn't really prove anything, so you can't really refute anything. IndieWire said it was the most convincing argument you can make without showing any actual evidence. According to Farah, public awareness is the missing piece in this puzzle. Government officials only prioritize what the public demands, and right now, not enough people are clued in on the full scope of UFO research. Do you believe these whistleblowers are telling the truth? And now for a quick break, because it's shout out time. I want to give a big thank you to Cinnamon Susie and David Davis for supporting this channel. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more videos like this. Hey boys, willen jullie onze kipsalon even proberen? Kipsalon? Hoe ga ik het eten dan? Met deze vork. Dat wou ik zeggen. Ga die voor je. Lekker, maar voor mij is het lekker. Nu terug bij KFC Kipsalon, onze versie van de OG. Legacy can take many forms. Learn from the ones who came before. And they betray them, the ones who come after. As long as one of us stands, our fight is not over. Profile helpt om te genieten van de lente. Met goede banden en onderhoud, verrassende voordelen en betrouwbaar advies. Sneller, verrassend voordelig. A lost civilization in Morocco. Something crazy has been found out in Morocco, and it is shaking up the history books. For years, historians have given the Phoenicians all the credit for bringing civilization to Morocco's Atlantic coast 3,000 years ago. But as it turns out, the locals had already set up shop 1,000 years before the Phoenicians ever even thought about sailing over. Archaeologists just uncovered a 4,200-year-old settlement at Catch Coach, and it's rewriting everything they thought they knew about North Africa. This amazing settlement proves once and for all that instead of in backwater, Phoenician sailors from Europe likely found an already thriving community, one that had its own way of doing things, from farming to building homes. The locals weren't just waiting around for Mediterranean traders to show up and tell them how to live. They were thriving as a powerful, independent civilization. It's possible they had no clue what was happening in Europe, keeping to themselves at the edge of the Sahara Desert. Catch Couch sits on Morocco's northwest coast. I don't know if I'm saying it right. The stones are likely from tools and weapons, all crafted primitively by smashing rocks together. the original DIY. And here's where it gets really interesting. By the 13th century BC, KK had evolved into a stable, organized community. Houses were built using wattle and daub, aka wooden frames, packed with mud. The ancient construction technique was so reliable, it is still used in some places today. Even their diet was sophisticated. Excavations revealed remains of barley, wheat, beans, and peas, proving that agriculture was in full swing. And with more than 8,000 animal bones found, it's safe to say these people were not going hungry. Okay, cool. But who in the name of all the Phoenician gods were these people? That's the exciting thing. History has never heard of them before. It was assumed that before Phoenician travelers arrived in Morocco, no one lived there. History books have made it seem like the Phoenicians rolled up in their fancy ships, set up trading posts, and introduced civilization to the region. But this discovery flips that story on its head. In fact, archaeologists have found hybrid building techniques at KK. There are structures that combine local mud brick methods with Phoenician style stone foundations. This suggests that the two groups lived alongside each other and shared knowledge, rather than the Phoenicians just taking over and civilizing the place through violence and subjugation. The bottom line is that African history just got more complicated. Scientists don't even have a name for this lost civilization yet. Can you share a good name for them in the comments? The Transylvanian Ice Age. Ever complain about a wonky weather forecast? Try living in a world where weather meant. I want you to imagine life in the 1500s. No electricity, no indoor plumbing, and the only weather app you had was staring at the sky and hoping for the best. Now throw in some of the wildest climate fluctuations in history, and you've got Transylvania during the Little Ice Age. One year was a frozen wasteland, and the next was so hot rivers boiled and disappeared. It was a climate hell. What you need to know about the Little Ice Age is that its name is deceiving. It began in the 14th century as a cold snap for the ages, but it lasted until the 19th century. We only just exited the Little Ice Age and are already on our way toward Planet Fireball. It wasn't just one big deep freeze. It was a chaotic mess of brutal winters, scorching summers, and floods that made Noah's Ark look like a practical investment. If that sounds familiar, it's because something similar is happening today. But that's a discussion for later. For the first time, scientists are learning just how horrible life was for people in Dracula's stomping grounds during the Little Ice Age, thanks to some ancient diaries. The diaries are part of what researchers call society's archive. One journalist, an OG blogger who kept a detailed diary of their life, wrote in 1540 of a very brutal summer. The drought was so bad that rivers dried up, springs died, and people begged the gods for help. One journal entry reads, livestock fell in the fields and the air was thick with despair as the people gathered in processions, praying for rain. Oh man, that sounds brutal. It was doubly brutal though, because some years were smoking hot and then other years were freezing cold. Transylvanians experienced climate whiplash with merciless winters wiping out crops and forcing people to huddle together for warmth. These old diaries are shedding light on how people in Transylvania dealt with these issues. They began to build smarter. Towns moved to higher grounds to escape floods, and flood resistant irrigation systems got upgraded, making sure that crops didn't turn to dust. And they improved food storage. Because when your town is one bad harvest away from famine, a solid backup plan is a lifesaver. Why should you care about a bunch of 16th century Transylvanians and their diary entries about bad weather? Because their struggles and solutions are weirdly relevant today. By looking at how past societies handled climate disasters and survived, people today can find ideas for dealing with modern environmental challenges, whether it's flood management, drought-proofing crops, or just being mentally prepared for unpredictable weather. If all else fails, we can always bring back the time-honored tradition of yelling at the sky and hoping it listens, or if worse comes to worse, maybe a few animal sacrifices. Just kidding. Malta's secret elongated skulls. Back to Malta we go, continuing our journey into the secret history of the island's ancient temples. Malta wasn't just home to giants, it was also where people with elongated skulls lived. Elongated skulls are those deformed craniums that have been found all over the world. From China's Hao Talmuga site to the infamous Sealand skull, these bizarre bone structures scientists scratching their non-elongated heads for years. So what's the deal? Are they genetic mutations? Were they done on purpose? Are they the result of some ancient beauty trend gone wrong? Or were they the ultimate alien infiltrators casually strolling through human civilization? Elongated skulls date as far back as 8,000 years before Christ. Some researchers have said they belong to people with strangely shaped heads who survived the Great Flood and decided to set up new civilizations in various corners of the world. Could this be why people keep randomly digging up alien-esque noggins across different continents? It's like a cosmic scavenger hunt, but instead of finding treasure, archaeologists keep finding proof that maybe history must need a major update. According to multiple ancient cultures, there were beings on this planet known as either dragon people or serpent people. They are always described the same: tall, wise, and, you guessed it, rocking elongated skulls. One of the biggest pieces of evidence comes from Malta, the Mediterranean barrier for extraterrestrial head storage. The House Athletic Hypogeum, the world's only known prehistoric underground temple, turned out to be a mass burial site in elongated skulls. Maltese archaeologist Sir Themistocles Zammit, a name straight out of a Sherlock Holmes novel, discovered thousands of skeletons here in the early 1900s, many with unnatural cranial shapes. But wait, it gets weirder. For decades, these skulls were on display at Malta's National Museum of Archaeology. I know I talk about weird stuff all the time that seems impossible, but these skulls were in a legitimate museum. Tourists gawked at them in photos. At least they did until 1985. The skulls mysteriously vanished from public view. Heritage Malta, the organization in charge of the island's prehistoric artifacts, casually decided to hide them from the public. But why? What were they afraid of? Recently, a handful of these skulls reappeared, but not all of them. Only 6 of the original 11 remain. What happened to the rest? The men in black swing by? Did archaeologists get a little too curious and take one home? The world may never know. Thankfully, researchers like Dr. Anton Mifsud and Dr. Charles Bonaventura examined the skulls before anything else happened to them. The doctors confirmed the skulls weren't the result of head binding, a practice in many ancient cultures. Most elongated skulls are the product of cranial deformation, aka head binding, but here it was not the case. The Malta skulls weren't artificially made, they were naturally long. What? The initial examination also showed that they are missing key cranial structures, like the sagittal suture, the thing that holds a human skull together. That's the anatomical equivalent of a car missing its engine and still somehow driving. How did these people live into adulthood? Italian researchers Vittorio Di Cesare and Adriano Forgione were among the few non-officials allowed to study the skulls. They published a detailed report connecting the skulls to ancient Egyptian culture and the serpent people spoken of in ancient texts. They even hinted that these beings could have had interplanetary origins. Just when you thought things couldn't get stranger, they get stranger. Let's talk about Miami politician Bettina Rodriguez Aguilera. While running for office, an old interview resurfaced where she casually mentioned being abducted by aliens as a child. It's not exactly your standard campaign strategy to announce yourself as an alien abductee. During this alleged extraterrestrial meet and greet, the aliens told her that Malta is home to 30,000 non-human skulls hidden in a secret cave that hasn't been opened in at least 11,000 years. Either Bettina knows something we don't, or she was given one heck of a bedtime story growing up. Connecting the dots between elongated skulls worldwide, temples built by giants, a history buried, and one politician's bizarre alien confession is definitely saying that something weird is going on. Could it be that ancient aliens didn't just visit us, but stayed on Earth and dwelled in massive stone megaliths? Or is it all just a massive coincidence and history likes messing with us? The next time someone tells you history is boring, remind them that somewhere in Malta there might just be a cave full of alien skulls. Leonardo da Vinci's secret passages uncovered. The Italian city of Milan has been sitting on a secret for centuries, one that's connected to none other than the legendary painter, sculptor, and inventor, Leonardo da Vinci. Researchers just uncovered hidden tunnels and underground passages beneath the 15th century Sforza castle. revealing a world that was once only whispered about in legends. The best part is too good to believe. Some of these tunnels appear in Leonardo da Vinci's drawings, which means Milan's most famous genius knew all about them. What archaeologists found is a hidden tunnel which connects Sforza Castle to Santa Maria delle Grazie, the church best known as the home of Leonardo's The Last Supper. For years, rumors swirled about a secret passage built by Ludovico I Moro, Duke of Milan, so he could sneak over to visit his beloved wife, Beatrice d'Este, who was buried in the basilica. Turns out, the rumors were right. I'm starting to picture the Duke late at night, slipping through a hidden corridor to warn his wife. Couldn't he have just walked there on the surface like a normal person? Either way, the guy had a backdoor escape route, and now, thanks to ground-penetrating radar and laser scans, everyone knows it really exists. Historians have long believed that Leonardo da Vinci played a role in designing secret military defenses for Sforza Castle. His own drawings support the new discoveries. These hidden passages line up with details in Leonardo's sketches, suggesting he might have designed or at least documented them himself. Which, let's be honest, is exactly the kind of thing you'd expect from a guy who designed flying machines and robotic knights. And soon you'll be able to walk through the secret tunnels yourself, thanks to an upcoming augmented reality experience. Professor Franco Busetti of the Polytechnic University of Milan explained that a digital model will allow people to see the tunnel as it is today and what it looked like in the past. It's like an Assassin's Creed game come to life. How cool is that? If you want to learn more about mysteries in art, be sure to subscribe and check out some of my other videos. India's mysterious hill of jewels. Alright, picture this. You are knee deep in dusty earth, the Indian sun beating down, and suddenly, bam!
Leef met de kracht van de natuur. Holland en Barrett. Verrijk je skincare routine met de kracht van de natuur. Met de tuin- en zonnebrand.
Yeah, right.
It stares back at you like it's been waiting 1,000 years for a chat. Sound like something out of an Indiana Jones flick? Well, it's real, and it's happening right now in Ratnagiri, Odisha. So what's the big deal with these giant Buddha heads? Honestly, they are flipping the script on what we thought we knew about ancient India religious history. And when I say giant, I'm not exaggerating. These aren't your garden variety Buddha statues. We're talking colossal, hidden for centuries, and now, finally, unearthed. 50 archaeologists worked tirelessly for over 2 months before finally striking gold. Or should I say, but 3 massive Buddha heads rising from the earth like sleepy giants. And that's not all. They've also uncovered what looks like a sprawling shrine complex. Think of it as finding a lost city, but instead of gold, it's filled with enlightenment. Now, Ratnagiri, or Hill of Jewels, isn't exactly a newbie to the archaeological scene. Back in the 50s, the legendary Vibhala Mitra, a true pioneer and India's first female archaeologist, uncovered monasteries and stupas. But a shrine complex? That was a mystery until now. Intrigued? You should be. Before December 2024, all they had was a tiny peek of a Buddha head, a mere whisper of what lay beneath. But that whisper was enough to get the Archaeological Survey of India digging, and boy, did they hit the jackpot. Here's where it gets really interesting. These heads aren't just big, they are packed with details. Think elongated earlobes, classic Buddha style, and get this, intact noses. You heard that right. In the world of ancient statues, a surviving nose is like finding a unicorn. Why? Because invaders usually went straight for the faces, trying to erase religious significance. But these Buddhas, they were so massive and their noses so high up that even the most determined defacer couldn't reach them. And get this, Ratnagiri was basically the Harvard of Buddhist education. It's been compared to Nalanda University. This hill of jewels was where you went to get your enlightenment on, but then poof, it was abandoned in the 13th century. Why? That's the $1,000,000 question. With 18 acres of land to explore, the archaeologists are just getting started. They are planning to dig for months, hoping to uncover more monastery structures, more statues, and, most importantly, more answers. The lost Maya city of Okoltur. Throw a dart at a map of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula and you are guaranteed to hit a lost Maya city. At least that's the joke among scientists. Thanks to a game-changing laser technology, lost Maya settlements are being uncovered at an almost ridiculous rate. The latest discovery is a massive, previously unknown city called Ocontún. It's already rewriting what scientists thought they knew about the ancient Maya civilization. If you ever hear someone call the Maya a lost civilization, you can shake your head because you'll know the truth. The Maya people never technically vanished. Their descendants are very much alive throughout Central America right now. However, centuries ago, a series of catastrophic events such as warfare, climate disaster, political collapse forced many to abandon their once thriving cities, leaving dozens of Maya towns, settlements, and citadels hidden beneath the jungle. It used to be that discovering Maya ruins required a mix of luck and good eyesight. A botanist once spotted the pyramids of Calakmul from an airplane window. Others relied on local knowledge or happened to stumble upon structures while hacking through the jungle. Now, scientists have LiDAR, light detection and ranging technology. They shoot millions of laser pulses from a plane, scanning the jungle floor like an ancient history X-ray. The result is a stunningly detailed 3D map that reveals hidden pyramids, plazas, and entire cities that have been buried for centuries. This is exactly how Ocontún was found. Researchers flew over the Yucatan in tiny rows, blasting 500,000 laser pulses per second. The laser beams digitally stripped away the trees to reveal something mind-blowing. A sprawling Maya city with towering structures, vast plazas, and even mysterious geometric formations. But LiDAR can only show so much. To confirm what the lasers revealed, someone had to go in on foot. Archaeologist Ivan Sprach isn't afraid of a challenge. He hacked his way through the jungle to be the first in the ruins of a lost Maya metropolis. Working with Mexico's National Institute for Anthropology and History, he and his team trekked for weeks through the jungle, following overgrown hunting trails and using chainsaws to clear the way. Let me know if this is something you would like to try. The distance from the nearest road is about 30 miles. The time it took to hike to Ocontún was about 10 hours a day over several days. And that's not even mentioning the bugs. Bugs, more bugs, and mosquitoes. Once Ivan Scratch reached Ocontún, the payoff was massive. The city featured monumental stone structures, including an acropolis and a strange circular platform that may have been a marketplace or a ceremonial site. Besides being an incredible find, Ocontún is changing our understanding of how the Maya civilization functioned. For example, the sheer size of the city suggests it was an important political and cultural hub. Even more intriguing, some ceramics found at the site date to 1000 BC, meaning Ocontún might be one of the earliest Maya settlements in the central lowlands. Even after the collapse of other Maya cities, people stayed in Ocontún, possibly all the way until the Spanish conquest in the 16th century. While the laser scans and fieldwork confirmed Ocontún's existence, the job isn't over yet. The city's secrets are still up for grabs. Archaeologists have years of hard work ahead of them to find out who lived there, how they adapted to jungle life, and why they lasted so much longer than the rest of the Maya. Stories of biblical destruction. Have you ever wished history had a save game feature so that you could go back and see exactly what happened thousands of years ago? Turns out the Earth itself kind of does, and it's all thanks to the planet's magnetic field. Scientists have figured out that burned mud bricks and melted rock, the remnants of ancient battles and fiery destruction, can lock in the magnetic field's orientation at the time of their destruction. In other words, scientists can date events more accurately by looking at melted bricks than by using radiocarbon dating. Take that, carbon 14. Johan Vaknin and a team of researchers from Tel Aviv University just did exactly that. Using ancient magnetism, they uncovered the real timeline of military conquest in Judea, proving that biblical history was just as brutal as advertised. Before diving into the destruction, let's talk about Earth's magnetic field because it's kind of a big deal. Deep beneath our feet, seriously hot molten iron churns around the Earth's core, creating a giant magnetic shield that protects us from nasty stuff like solar radiation and cosmic rays. It's like the shield on the USS Enterprise. Without it, we would all be crispy toast. But because that molten metal is constantly moving, the magnetic field is never stable. It shifts over time, sometimes reversing completely. When rocks are superheated, say during a military invasion that involves burning an entire city down, the minerals inside them realign to match the Earth's magnetic field at the exact moment. When they cool, they preserve that alignment, like nature's own time capsule. If you can read those ancient magnetic signatures, you can date fiery destruction down to the decade. Now, moving on to Gath, the legendary Philistine city and home of Goliath, as in the giant Goliath. The Bible only gives one vague line about its destruction in 2 Kings, which is not particularly helpful. But archaeologists have known for a while that Gath was leveled in an apocalyptic siege. The big question has always been who destroyed it and when. And this is where the magnetic field comes in. Vathing's team analyzed 21 archaeological layers from 17 different sites to reconstruct a magnetic timeline of destruction. They found that Gath, along with Tel Rehav, or Bat Tevet, and Tel Zait, were all destroyed around 830 BC. The mystery is that no one knows who destroyed them or how. Does this discovery prove the wrath of God is real? Did the big guy upstairs obliterate Goliath's hometown with a little fire and brimstone?
Wanneer je op elke hoek van de straat inspiratie vindt, dat is het Aruba-effect. Het slimme imprintsysteem denkt met je mee.
Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching. Be sure to stay tuned for extra content you might have missed. A female wolf puppy was just discovered in the Canadian Yukon, mummified and in almost perfect condition. According to Life Science, the wolf pup was preserved in the permafrost for approximately 57,000 years before being discovered by a gold miner in Dawson City. Professor of Anatomy Julie Beechin says the specimen is the most complete one of its kind ever found that can be traced back to the last ice age. Her soft tissue is still there. She has her hair and skin intact, and she still has her little nose looking like a poor little puppy that died just yesterday. This makes her the most complete Ice Age wolf ever found in Canada. By x-raying her teeth, scientists were able to tell a lot about her. She died at 7 weeks old and is a Canis lupus, also known as a gray wolf. The puppy died all alone for some reason, perhaps when her den collapsed. She was mummified and then perfectly preserved for many thousands of years for us to find. Specimens like this one are fairly common in Siberia, but found way less often in North America. Of the discovery. It's also given some insight into when North American wolves first developed. The puppy seemed to be related to both extinct Beringian wolves that used to live in Alaska and the Yukon, as well as Russian gray wolves. This is exciting because it's proof that wolves mixed at some point in the ancient past and migrated across the Bering Land Bridge into Alaska. UFOs in the sky. At the Winter Park Ski Resort in Colorado, a street camera captured what appears to be an unidentified flying object drifting over the nearby hills. The object was caught while the camera was streaming live video, meaning there is no way it could have been faked. While the camera wasn't exactly designed to pick up random objects hovering in the sky, it was still a modern camera and captured a very clear image of a dark circular object above the hills. The picture was screen grabbed, then sent to the Mutual UFO Network, known as MUFON, for analysis. The person who actually discovered the UFO was monitoring the web camera for the resort. His job is to use the cameras to monitor the weather conditions of the ski hills. Every 3 minutes, the live stream updates. In one of the updates, there was a black disc over the top of the mountain, and in the next frame, there was nothing. Well, you may be thinking, hey, maybe it was just an airplane. This isn't very likely. Whatever it was had been soaring way too close to the land. There is no way a commercial vehicle would be flying so low. Plus, the witness confirmed with the resort that there were no helicopters in the area at the time. There's no way the unidentified object was a bug or some kind of bird either, because it was simply too big. The only thing that makes sense is that a big black UFO came and went so fast that nobody else noticed it. The tomb of a priestess. A team of archaeologists in Peru recently investigated the chamber tomb of a mysterious priestess from 1200 years ago who once offered blood to the ancient gods. This priestess was part of the Moche culture, who lived in Peru between the years 100 and 850 AD, before eventually being conquered by the Inca. They had a complex religious system, one that, like others in pre-Columbian South America, practiced blood sacrifice. Her tomb was actually the eighth one to be found at the San Jose de Moro archaeological site since 1991, when excavations began. Experts say she was buried sometime between 700 and 800, but she wasn't buried alone. This woman must have been so important in society at the time that she was buried with full honors, meaning she had 7 other people entombed with her, likely to assist her in the afterlife, as well as ceramic objects, treasures made of copper, and a bizarre and rather creepy funerary mask. One of the most interesting artifacts buried with the priestess was a copper goblet, which archaeologists say was used in blood offerings to the gods. The blood was taken from prisoners of war who were drained of their essence. However, archaeologists aren't sure who these Moche gods were that demanded so much blood. But there's one more incredible thing about the priestess. She may have been one of the rulers of society at the time. Archaeologists have found that the most impressive tombs from the Moche culture all belong to women. They held great religious power and may have actually ruled over the entire civilization from the year 650 until its collapse. Coins of death. In England, a man with a metal detector found 2 incredibly rare coins from the 14th century, originating from a time when the plague was ravaging England and the rest of Europe. The coins were minted during the reign of King Edward III, sometime between 1344 and 1351. Discovered in Norfolk County, the fellow with the metal detector sent the coins to be assessed by professional archaeologists, astounded by the discovery. They have given 2 possibilities for how the random coins got trapped underneath the ground. They say both were definitely buried at the same time, and that they were probably part of a purse or a treasure stash hidden by somebody who was planning to come back and get them later. That person must have died before they could ever retrieve their treasure. But just how much money can 2 coins be worth? First of all, they are crafted of 96% pure gold. Back in the 14th century, the coins would have been owned by a person at the top tier of society, according to archaeologist Helen Gagey. In today's currency, the 2 coins together would be worth $16,700, not including their historical value. Parallel universe. In Antarctica, the world's largest neutrino telescope may have detected evidence of a parallel universe. It happened in the springtime, when the telescope, which is a grid of specialized detectors constructed on Antarctica's ice, detected strange signals that don't seem to make any sense. The Antarctic Impulsive Transient Antenna, or ANITA for short, discovered radio signals being produced by high-energy particles from space. These particles normally enter the atmosphere from deep space from above. However, this time, ANITA detected them from beneath the surface. Rather than being beamed down from the stars, they seem to be rising up from the planet. The reason it's so strange is that these particles should not be able to pass through the solid mass that is the Earth. It makes absolutely no sense and could change the way we understand particle physics. Well, some people understand because that is not my field of expertise. One of the theories as to how the particles originated has to do with a parallel universe. Because the particles are coming from the opposite direction that they're supposed to, seemingly passing through Earth by magic, some scientists say there could be an anti-universe that is opposite to our own, in which everything runs backward. This would mean the Big Bang is the end of the universe, not the beginning, in this alternate reality. Right now, this is just a theory. It hasn't been scientifically proven, though there is some degree of likelihood. To make matters even stranger, the first time this was detected was 8 years ago, and it's happened frequently ever since. Despite all the data and research, scientists still haven't reached any conclusions. That's physics for ya. The fifth ocean. Finally, the fifth ocean has been unveiled to the world. A decision was made by the National Geographic Society to add the ocean which surrounds Antarctica to the list of the 4 oceans already recognized: the Pacific, the Indian, the Atlantic, and the Arctic. In a rather underwhelming naming decision, the ocean has been called the Southern Ocean. The ocean isn't a new discovery in itself, it's always been there. However, the idea to make it an official ocean has been around for about a century, but until just now, it didn't have popular backing. It was on June 8th, World Oceans Day, The National Geographic announced that they would start labeling the Southern Ocean as a real ocean on maps going forward. While this may not seem like it will have a big impact on the world at large, it actually will. Alex Tate from National Geographic said the biggest impact will be on education, because students up until now have only been learning about the four main oceans. Now, hopefully, the Southern Ocean will be included in the curriculum, and people will start learning more about the mysterious Antarctic waters. Mysterious underground ping. In a remote community far away in the Canadian territory of Nunavut, a strange sound has been coming from the floor of the ocean. It's been described as a ping, a hum, and even a beep. And it's been heard throughout the Fury and Hecla Strait, an area roughly 80 miles north of Igloolik, a place so cold it even has the word igloo in its name. But here's the deal with the weird beeping. Locals are saying the noise is so strange that it's been scaring away the animals. The hunters who live in the region say that the local sea mammals have all but vanished, coinciding with the first witness of the beep. And according to them, it's coming from the very floor of the ocean. The speculations have been running wild. Some say there are foreign submarines lurking in Canadian waters. Others say there could be a crashed UFO sending out radio signals, trying to contact its mothership. Scientists were quick to point out that the passage is a migratory route for whales. It could just be whales making the noises, but the locals don't think so. They believe there is something mysterious and ominous on the seabed. They just can't figure out what it is. Ancient Italian menu. Scientists have recently discovered what ancient Italians ate 2,000 years ago.
What was it?
These scientists took a close look at materials left behind on over 130 pieces of ceramic pottery crafted in medieval Sicily. The scientists were hoping to learn more about the island's history during the Islamic rule of Sicily between 900 and 1200 AD. They used a special process of residue analysis to discover the chemical vestiges of food left on the cookware. One of the scientists involved in the study called it the first time in which organic residue analysis was used to identify food in a medieval society of many different faiths. Here's what they found. People who lived in medieval Sicily had very diverse diets. They ate sweet, savory, and salty foods. However, when moving into the rural areas outside the city, the diet shifted and became heavy with dairy and grapes. Rural people also ate far more pork than those in the city. One of the weirdest things that scientists found is that they often mixed fruit juice with dishes of meat and vegetables. This is the equivalent of eating plum sauce with your chicken nuggets, or having a spritz of lemon on your salad. In other words, the ancient Sicilians were a lot like modern foodies. Wormholes. A wormhole is a bridge that can theoretically connect different points in space-time. A wormhole could, in theory, create a shortcut in which a person could travel to a different point in the space-time continuum. In other words, travel through time. Just recently, scientists have suggested that wormholes may be less science fiction and more reality. The truth to wormholes is incredibly complicated. To create one, the very fabric of space-time itself must be altered, and this involves pushing space-time outward with negative energy. Negative energy is a thing that really exists and has been produced in a laboratory. Scientists believe negative energy is what's behind the accelerated expansion of our universe. In a paper published in the monthly notices of the Royal Society, Russian astronomers said that there could be some wormholes existing at the center of bright galaxies. They also suggested we could find them if we trained our telescopes to look for the right characteristics. Specifically, the creation of a wormhole would result in a massive burst of gamma radiation, which we could search for using telescopes on Earth. Astronomers have not actually found a wormhole yet, but the Russian scientists say it's possible. However, we would never be able to travel through one to go backwards in time. A wormhole like this would be positioned at the center of the galaxy, where the temperature would be so intense that anything that went near the wormhole would be instantly incinerated. 6,000 years of history discovered. In England, a project to remove electricity pylons recently led archaeologists to discover the ruins of a Roman settlement and other relics spanning back a total of 6,000 years. It was a complete accident that this place was discovered. The power pylons were located in a protected landscape, and so there had never been any archaeological investigations in the area. But once a few pieces of ancient stone were found, archaeologists were called in to see what was going on. So far, excavations have revealed the settlement from Roman-occupied Britain, as well as artifacts from the Neolithic period and the Bronze Age. Some of the oldest artifacts include flint tools and scraps of pottery from 4000 BC. As for the Roman settlement, it was actually pretty impressive. Archaeologists uncovered 8 stone buildings, as well as ovens and millstones that would have been operated either using cattle or Roman slaves. There were also 34 burials at the site, with the skeletons spanning a period of 500 years during the Iron Age. Finally, a cremation cemetery from the Bronze Age was also found. In total, the site was used for thousands of years, probably on and off again. Archaeologists don't know exactly what the significance of the location may have been in ancient times, but seeing as it was used by so many different people, it must have been a landscape of great importance. Thanks for watching! Which of these discoveries surprised you the most?
A lot of rabbit holes.
Bouwen aan een high-end IT-landschap. Bij Koeker zoeken we IT'ers in omgeving Rotterdam. Bekijk.
Let's go. Okay, we laugh, you win. Can't stop. Let's get right, baby. You make us laugh, you get money. Start now. Come on.
Alright, cool.
Did you laughing at that?
No, his face, yo.
Oh my god.
Hey, yo, no, you funny, bro. No, the way you did your face like
Oh
that
my god.
killed me, man.
You about to actually make me go
Hey, Martin City, let's go.
That's an easy dub, man. Come on, man.
No way you laugh at that, bro.
Where's that? Well, I don't know where he's at, man.
Yo, bro, what's your PayPal, bro?
What's our PayPal?
Yeah, man.
I'll send it to you.
Bro, why do you always do this with your eyebrows, by the way?
What?
With the timeouts.
Because it looks good. You don't even have eyebrows. You can't even see your eyebrows on the camera.
Yeah, but I got.
You can't even. We can't even.
Wait. You want PayPal, yeah?
Yes.
Well, I'm coming. Wait. My friend.
What is no? He doesn't have PayPal.
He's taking the piss.
Well, he's trolling.
No, he's trying to make a PayPal right now.
Yeah.
I just. I know. Oh shit, man.
All right, bro. I'm not gonna lie, bro. I'm not gonna lie. You gotta get skipped.